I've been married for 11 years now. I first met my wife at work when she came to my shop to fix my car. We struck up a conversation, and before long, we started dating. Back then, I learned that she was previously married, divorced, and had a child. It didn't bother me at all at the time. 6 months later, she became pregnant, and I proposed marriage. Initially, we lived in a rented apartment, and our daughter was born. My mother-in-law came over to help with the baby. When we discussed buying a home, my mother-in-law suggested selling her house and investing the money with us. We took her up on the offer and purchased a 4-bedroom apartment. My mother-in-law moved into a separate room. Our relationship was, to put it mildly, non-existent. She had been against me from the start, but I made it clear, she stays out of my way, and I stay out of hers. Looking back, I wouldn't have agreed to this arrangement now, but I was young and optimistic back then. My wife worked as a translator and often went on business trips. After one such trip, she came home with a little extra luggage. She was pregnant. I had my suspicions about her faithfulness before, but I hadn't investigated. And now, here we were, expecting another child. I pressed her for answers. There were many lies, but eventually, she confessed that she had met her true love abroad. She had been having an affair with a foreigner who was 10 years younger than her. So, following my wife's suggestion, our 11-year marriage came to an end. I filed for divorce and ended up with half of the property. We sold the apartment, which meant I had to split it right down the middle, along with the family business. My wife walked away with every last penny. It was a severe financial blow to the business. At that point, I owned a couple of car repair shops and had to give one to her. The turnover plummeted, and we struggled with debts. I was at my lowest, devastated by betrayal. I nearly drowned my sorrows in alcohol, but friends and family were there to support me through the rough patch, and I managed to pull through. I decided to move in with my mother and made arrangements so that my ex-wife wouldn't interfere with our communication. I wanted to take my daughter on vacations, call her up, and spend time together. But when my ex married her foreign prince and they moved abroad, he took our daughter with him. It soon became clear that her new husband was opposed to me having any contact with my daughter because she now had a new dad. I was overwhelmed with pain and longing. I wanted to see my daughter, but they were far away and out of reach. To keep my mind off the sadness, I buried myself in work, not leaving a moment for gloomy thoughts. What's gone is gone, and what remains are debts and commitments to clients. So I had plenty to keep me occupied. Eventually, I had a brief fling, just enough to fill a void, but not enough to make me rethink my family situation. Time passed, and I started to heal and adjust my life. The business recovered and even thrived. I took up sports, focused on personal development, and traveled a bit. I had a few relationships, but they followed the same pattern. We were both free, both lonely, and neither of us was ready for anything serious. The scars from the past still lingered. Occasionally, thoughts of my former family crossed my mind, but I hadn't yet found the woman with whom I wanted to build a new life. I wasn't ready for that. Then, nearly 4 years later, I received an unexpected call from my sobbing mother-in-law. She informed me that my ex-wife had returned. Apparently, she had given birth to her new husband's child 6 months ago and had since divorced him. My mother-in-law shared how unhappy my ex had become and described a series of unfortunate events. Her new husband had abused her, cheated on her, and drained all the money she had received from our joint business after the divorce. My mother-in-law was in tears, saying that my ex-wife was facing severe health issues and urgently needed money for surgery. They were struggling to make ends meet and were surviving on her pension alone. My friends mentioned that now I could reconnect with my daughter and that they were waiting for financial help. It felt like they were prodding an old wound. I didn't respond immediately, ended the call, and began to think things over. Yes, I wanted to see my daughter, but were they simply using her as a means to get to my money? After so many years, who was I to her now? Just another distant figure. One thing was clear. My wife had betrayed me after 11 years of marriage, chasing a dream of a glamorous life abroad. Yet, over the past 4 years, I had achieved everything I wanted. It was her choice to leave, and now she seemed to want to shift the consequences onto me. I had no closer connection to my daughter now. Life had taught me a harsh lesson, revealing the betrayal and abandonment by two of the people I once held dear. It hurt, but I endured, gathered my strength, and managed to rebuild my life. Despite the blow, I didn't crumble. Instead, I thrived. Now it's time to enjoy the fruits of my success and show my ex, who betrayed me, just how misguided she was. I've decided to offer her one-time assistance. Let her see that, despite her betrayal, I remained a decent person, someone she lost forever. This gesture will be a more powerful form of retribution than any act of revenge. When she realizes how wrong she was, it will torment her. This is the sweetest revenge, extending a helping hand instead of cursing her. Moreover, it will lay the groundwork for a new relationship with my daughter. I don't want her to resent me for her mother's misfortunes or harbor hatred for the rest of her life. I can forgive, and I don't hold grudges. If someone chooses not to be part of my life, I won't force them to stay. But if they ask for help, I'll offer it if I can. My guiding principle is simple: never harbor hatred, as it eats you up from within. So, I made the call. I arranged for the financial support my ex-wife needed for her surgery. I didn't want any public acknowledgement or accolades. The assistance was sent discreetly, and I didn't expect any acknowledgement or thanks. I knew the real impact would come not from the gesture itself, but from the realization that I had moved on, grown, and remained humane despite the pain inflicted on me. In the days that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life. My business continued to flourish, and I pursued my interests with renewed vigor. I stayed in touch with my mother-in-law, who had been the bridge to my daughter. She kept me updated on her well-being and shared moments that made me feel connected, even from afar. I made it clear that I wanted to be involved in my daughter's life in whatever way was possible. Eventually, I received a letter from my ex-wife. It was a heartfelt apology, acknowledging the pain she had caused and the mistakes she had made. She thanked me for the financial help and admitted that it had given her a chance to heal, both physically and emotionally. She also expressed regret for the way things had turned out and for the distance it had created between me and our daughter. Her letter was a bittersweet reminder of what once was, but also an indication of growth and change. It didn't erase the past, but it did offer a sense of closure. I decided to take it as a step toward opening a new chapter, one where I could build a healthier relationship with my daughter. Time passed, and with each year, I found myself less haunted by the shadows of the past. My daughter and I began to reconnect gradually, meeting up whenever circumstances allowed. It was a slow process, but every moment spent together was a victory, a sign of progress. I hoped that through our interactions, she would come to understand that despite the pain and mistakes, there was always room for forgiveness and renewal. As for me, I continued to embrace life with open arms. The journey had been arduous, filled with moments of despair and triumph, but it shaped me into someone resilient and compassionate. The scars from my past were now a part of my story, but they no longer defined me. I had learned to live with them, using them as a testament to my growth, and as a reminder that even in the face of betrayal, one can rise, rebuild, and move forward with grace and dignity.